Hi, so I'm here with John.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm from Crystal Clear Coaching and Crystal Clear Retreats, and this is another video out of the series that I'm talking to guys who have struggled with mental health issues in their lives, just to get a bit of experience, understanding from different perspectives. As you may or may not know, I've been doing a lot of research around what men need. We've got a lot of high suicide rates amongst men, and we really need to get the message out there to support men to get the help they need and break down that stigma.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you, John,
Yeah.
a little bit about your story, if
Yeah.
you're comfortable to tell us that.
Yeah, totally. And actually, just to follow on from what you just said there, before I launch into it, I did actually do a post on Facebook about the phrase "man up," which was kind of ties in with what you were just saying there about. And it was on the BBC, so I'm sure you can search for it if you want to. It was about a guy who basically felt like he couldn't talk to anybody about what was going on because people in his life had constantly told him to man up, and he didn't feel like it was manly to talk about his emotions, and that's just a really kind of negative and unhelpful situation to find himself in. So I thought it was a very powerful thing. So just to chime on with what you were saying there, but my own personal history, I didn't actually feel that. I've never felt that sort of man up kind of stigma really. But that just might be part of my background. My dad was in the army, but I went to boarding school, so my sort of parental, my adult kind of influences, I guess, were very varied and mixed. Anyway, so I went to school, boarding school, and it was kind of okay. I had a weird upbringing, but we don't need to go into that. But eventually, what happened, and talking about my own mental health situation, was I developed social anxiety. Really, I was really struggling socially. I was struggling to make friends, and I was struggling to find a girlfriend. That was essentially, making friends was like, yeah, all right, fine, but getting a girlfriend was one of my sort of chief goals. And I moved to Cheltenham in 2000 and back to Cheltenham. Cheltenham was where I went to school. It's my hometown, and I moved back there in about 2001. And I thought I would know loads of people because it's my hometown. And I was wandering around the streets of Cheltenham going, where is everybody I know? Why are there no people here I know? And so I was really struggling to try and create a new set of friends. And because I wasn't very good at socially, that became a real problem for me. And I started getting more and more sad over time. About how I was doing this, and I was really struggling to talk to girls, and I was getting lots and lots of rejections, and eventually that turned into a phobia. It became a phobia. I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but when you look back at kind of what a phobia is, I was scared to go into a social environment where there might be women because I might see somebody I was attracted to, and I'd be so scared to go over and talk to them that I would end up walking away from that social environment. Beating myself up constantly because I hadn't gone to go and talk to the girl. There were a number of occasions when I walked home crying just because I hadn't gone to talk to the person who I was attracted to, because I knew I would get rejected anyway. And of course it became a self-fulfilling prophecy as well, because every time I would go up I was so nervous about talking to them, and the desperation was so strong that the girl would immediately think it was would immediately reject me just because I looked desperate and so forth. Hi.
Hiya.
We're borrowing somebody's garden at the moment, and they've just come back. And they don't know we're recording a video, so it's all kind of fun. So that all happened, and then I went up to London to learn about how to be better with women. That's kind of my background in that. And it was really cool. We learned about body language, how to dress properly, how to recognise when somebody wasn't interested in you, how to have a conversation, how to engage with somebody, how to listen to the other person. These are all really kind of cool core skills. But actually,
you actually did a course on that?
Yeah.
Did you access that yourself?
Yeah. It was, there are courses. For guys, there are courses out there to help you be better with women. Women hate them and they think they're horrible, but actually, or the good ones help you to be a better human, effectively. And for guys who've been through kind of what I came through, there's quite a lot of us people from a certain type of background, I guess. We've gone into way more detail than I thought we were going to into here, so I'm gonna need a copy of this video because it's really good background from my own perspective as well.
Of course.
I came from an IT consultancy background, and so everybody used to describe me as an IT geeky type person, and I really wasn't. That wasn't my core. And now I do psychology, so and that was really who I was. I did a lot of customer service, customer facing stuff. I was the human face of IT essentially in all the businesses that I worked with. I didn't understand that at the time, but now looking back on it, that's clearly what it was, because I wasn't the geeky, behind the computers, didn't want to talk to people kind of guy. But when I went on this course, there was loads of those kind of guys in the course who just didn't know how to interact with humans, let alone girls. And so a lot of the talk was all that sort of stuff, and listening skills was brilliant. Actually, I learned a lot from that about recognizing when people are getting bored of what you're talking about, because I was terrible at not recognizing when people wanted to get away, and I was just talk, and so it was quite funny. And one of the other things was about listening as well. So going back to what I was struggling with when I went to go and talk to a girl, of course I'd always think to myself, well, I haven't got anything interesting to say, and again, when you put yourself in that situation, you try and think of things that might be funny or might be interesting to say when you approach somebody, and then you kind of approach them and you just blurt out these things, and then it just feels weird because it's kind of cold, and then they come back with some sort of retort, and then you just go with the second line that you thought you were thinking of, that has no relevance to whatever it was they just said to you.
Sounds like a lot of hard work.
And so what they taught us was say something either silly or ridiculous or something relevant to what's going on around you, and it doesn't really matter. One of the key things they said is it doesn't matter what that first line is, it's what happens next that's the key. That first line can be as ridiculous and outrageous as you like. The girl reacts in some way, and then whatever they say, that's what you react to. And that was the key thing to the whole holding a conversation thing. It's like, what's the other person said, and what do I need to say about that? So rather than just listening for a gap in the conversation while you're trying to remember the next thing you want to say, they taught us to actually listen to what the other person said and then reply to what they said. And I mean, that's fantastic for any conversation
Absolutely.
style.
So
So that, but the first part of the course that I went on was a thing called Destroying Approach Anxiety, and that was all talking about the voice inside my head that was telling me that I had nothing interesting to say, that was telling me that I was going to get rejected, that was telling me that I was useless and that nobody was interested in me and all that kind of stuff. And we just understood that voice, and then looking around the room, and I was finding all these different stories that all these guys had. They all had a different story as to why they were useless with women. And nobody had like the same exact story. It was hilarious. And I was like, oh my God, everybody's different. This is bizarre. And of course that was kind of an NLP process. We learned about how we process the world around us, how we filter the information in front of us, how we delete things and distort and generalize the world around us, and so that was fascinating, and that was when I started going, oh, I love this stuff, I really want to learn more about this. And that started me on the journey of, I want to learn more about this stuff. And I did an NLP course like 3 times, and I've watched loads of YouTube videos on neuroscience, new psychology, brain biology, all this kind of stuff, and I've just been like fascinated with this whole area. And then of course I discovered that I actually did psychology at university in my first year as well, so I have already actually done a bit of psychology at university as well, which is fantastic. And then I, of course, then looking back at my life, I then realized that, well, actually I've been kind of a psychologist my whole IT career as well, because I was always the one who was sent in to help out with difficult customers. So I was a guy who went in, okay, I know you've got problems, I know it's a nightmare, tell me all about your problems, I'll write them all down, I'll make a list, and then we'll sort it all out, and we'll find a solution that's going to be happy for you. And then I go to the techie guys and say, can you just do all this stuff and fix it for them? They say, oh no, but that's not what they asked for. And I say, no, but this is what they need. And then I deliver it, and then I go back to them and I say, this is how it's going to solve your problems. And they go, well, that's not what we asked for. I know it's not what you asked for, but this is going to solve your problem for you. So and that's all basically psychology. That's exactly what we do.
Absolutely.
And so that's fantastic. And so I've gone off on one, and partly gone off on one because I realised that this is actually going to be a really useful thing for me. So sorry for that. But so I got this social anxiety, and as a result of all this, I then got depressed, and so I was miserable all the time. And in 2012, I had a proper breakdown. I was curled up in a ball in my living room floor, crying so hard that I could barely breathe, and trying to figure out how you phone for an ambulance when you can't breathe. It just seemed like such a ridiculous thing, and I had to text a friend of mine. I was thinking to myself, why they need a texting system. This is actually the opening chapter of my book, this little bit I'm doing now, which I haven't written yet. I've written most of it, but not all of it yet. And I said they need a texting app so you can text for an ambulance and say, come and collect me from here.
Yeah, if you can't
And then I realised that actually there already is a texting facility for an ambulance, and it's called Friends. And I realised at that point I didn't have a lot of friends because of all the stuff I told you about a minute ago. But what I did remember is I'd seen a life coach guy, who had once said to me, if you ever struggle again, because I can't remember, anyway, if you ever struggle, then text me, or you'll get in touch with me. So I did. I texted him. I said, can you help me out? And he said, well, I'm in Birmingham at the moment, I can't help you, but it sounds like you're having a panic attack. You just need to slow down your breathing. So he taught me through that, and that's exactly what it was, and so I recovered from that. And that's when I went on. So then the doctor put me on antidepressants. I went through the whole gamut of benefit systems. I went through all that sort of stuff. And that's when I thought, you know what, I don't want to be on the pills. I don't want to be taking prescription drugs for forever. How can I get off the drugs? And that's when I started investigating, recovery from depression and what do people do, and lots of people talking about exercise and mindfulness and meditation and CBT, and I went through all these things, did all these bits and pieces, and they were all great. But eventually, what I did is I put together sort of a framework for self-improvement, self-development, I guess. And that's how I kind of came out of depression, really. So that was kind of my journey, I guess.
Yeah. So it's very much like sort of almost you self-helped yourself out of.
Yes.
Out of the depression.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking for what was everybody. How do you not be depressed?
Yeah.
And I found lots and lots of people saying lots and lots of different things. And the interesting thing about that was everybody you spoke to had a different way that they'd come out of depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I started putting things together, so when you talk to people and they say there's no one fix to depression, you go, no, there isn't, but there is a framework, and they're all similar.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, one of the things I did a little survey recently. I was saying, how did you recover from depression? And he had a whole bunch of different things. No. So let me rephrase that. The actual question was, what do you do that makes you feel good? That's the question, because I was trying to find a way of describing an activity that kind of covered feeling good, doing something that makes you feel good. And we had people coming back with, I like to sit in the bath away from the children. And then we had people saying, I like to do boxing, I like to play rugby, I like to do yoga, I like to go walking in the woods on my own, I like to take my dog for a walk. And you're going, what's the common theme here? There is no common theme here at all. And I realised that the actual common theme is it's something that makes them feel good.
Something that they enjoy,
And actually, it doesn't matter what the activity is. It's do something that you make feel good. And when I talk to people who are struggling with depression, we haven't actually talked about this yet, so this is going to be interesting to say, because I know you help people with depression quite a lot. So my first question most of the time is, what do you do that makes you feel good? And almost everybody I speak to who's struggling with depression says, well, firstly, it's like nothing. Nothing makes me feel good. Okay. Well, what would make you feel good? And they say, well, I used to do dancing, or I used to do exercise, or I used to do. Basically, I used to do something, whatever that something is. And I say, well, why don't you do that anymore? And they say, oh, well, life's got in the way. This is happening, and whatever. And I say, well, how can we change your life so that you do that more often and more regularly? Go out dancing, go to the choir. So singing, that was another one. Exactly. Yoga, boxing, whatever. Whatever it is, how can you do more of that? Because that makes you feel good. And then that usually requires them to change their lives to make more time. And what you find is that the reason they're depressed is because they're not doing the thing that they love, essentially. And to a certain extent, it's a lot of people get depressed because they're in a relationship they don't like, or they're in a job they don't like. And you start talking about, well, why don't you change the relationship? Why don't you change the job? And, I can't because. And you go, well, okay, let's work on that, and let's figure out how you can change it. If it's a relationship, for example, why don't you talk to your other half about what's going on? Oh, I couldn't do that. Well, what do you mean you couldn't do that? What kind of a relationship have you got if you can't talk about how you're feeling? It just strikes me as being ridiculous when you have those kind of conversations with people. So,
Can I turn that question on you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what is the thing that you love that helps you with depression?
That's interesting. Yeah, that is a good, interesting question. Interestingly, I used to. I used to do ballroom dancing, and I used to love doing that.
Oh, wow.
I don't do it quite so much at the moment, but there's other reasons behind that. And I do enjoy walking in nature. So I did a walk across Spain in 2016. I kind of enjoyed that. But to be honest, the thing that I love more than probably anything else really is interacting with other people. So I like meeting people and talking with people. Actually, when we met earlier on, I've been away for 10 days or so, and I'm trying to get some work done. And Vanessa was saying to me, yeah, so you're doing all this travelling around and you're trying to fit this work in, but you just seem to be filling your time with meeting people. And I was like, yeah. And just as you asked me that question, I was thinking, yep, that's exactly what I do. I fill my time with meeting people for coffee and drinks and whatever. I don't like just being on my own. I like meeting people and chatting to people and interacting with them and filling my time. That's what I love doing. And I really love helping people as well. That's the other thing. I love when somebody comes to me and they say, what can I do about? And then I ask them some questions and kind of dig a little bit deeper and then try and help them to work through their problems. I just love doing that. And I love it when other people offer to do the same for me as well. I mean, this weekend I've been with a couple of people. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but there was two women in particular that I spoke to who are both coaches in their own way. One's a money and mindset coach, I think. Anyway, but both those interactions ended up helping me because I was working through problems. A lot of times I didn't even know there were problems. I came across a problem yesterday morning, money blockage. I just didn't realise I had a money blockage.
Yeah, they're very subtle, aren't they, the money blockages?
And it wasn't until I was refusing to pay for a £10 extra for a taxi to get to an event, even though it was pouring with rain outside. And I was like, my whole body was saying, no, I'm not going to pay £10 for a taxi. And I ended up walking to the event in the pouring rain and getting completely soaked. And as I was walking, I was thinking, what was I doing? Why would I not pay an extra £10 just for the convenience of not getting soaking wet? And then I realised that's what's going on inside there. I've got a little money block about spending money, and it was ridiculous. And it's even worse when you think about, I'd had dinner the night before, and I thought I was going to be paying for dinner. But when I came to get my money out, they said, oh no, this is on the house. We're paying for you to have dinner. And I was like, oh. So I'd saved myself £20 the night before. So I was £20 up already. So I could have spent the £10 and still been £10 up. This is ridiculous. What's going on inside my head? So so I had this little chat on Sunday afternoon with this person about why I've got these blockages, and I said to them, it's funny because I didn't even know I had a blockage around. I mean, I kind of knew I had money issues, but it was weird to kind of see it manifesting itself in such a very clear and obvious way, and then go, oh gosh, now I can work on it. Now I can help myself get through that problem. But quite a lot of the time, you don't know you've got these problems until you speak to somebody else.
Absolutely.
So actually, which is brilliant because that's come from a beautiful full circle, hasn't it? Back to the beginning of what we were talking about, which is you need to be able to talk to people. You need to feel willing and able to be open enough to talk to somebody else. So when I was talking about the man up thing earlier on, that's where that came from. The guy was feeling suicidal because he felt like he couldn't talk to his wife about how he was struggling, and he thought the best thing out was to commit suicide rather than talk to his wife. What is that about? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really, really, really sad. And because I've been doing a bit of research recently, and what I've found is a lot of people have come back saying that they didn't ask for help because they felt embarrassed. Or they felt weak. So, I mean, is there anything you would say to somebody who maybe feels like that?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could I remember his surname because he's got a pretty complicated surname, but on my Facebook Live, you find, we'll find it out. I think his name is Chris, and I think his surname begins with a C. And he's a Scottish guy, and he does some really cool stuff around this. And he actually a really, really nice video. I'll make sure you get a link to the video so that you can show it to people. But he does it from his car. It's like a little bit dangerous because he's driving while he does it. And it's like, he's obviously got the phone on a tripod thing, and he's just talking while he's driving. So it's kind of okay, but I was constantly going, why have you done that? Why couldn't you just pull over and do that whole video rather than doing it while you're driving? Anyway,
I'd be thinking that as well.
And he basically just says that actually, if you're not talking to somebody, that's weakness, and the actual strength is to allow people to see your emotional side and allow people to see you being vulnerable. That's the strength. And actually, if you're not able to be vulnerable in front of other people, you're actually being a coward. And that's I mean, it's a bit harsh. It's a bit harsh words. But essentially that is what it is. It's like you're not being weak to talk to somebody about you. You're actually being weak if you're scared to talk to somebody else. Then so actually that's the weakness. The weakness is being too scared to talk to somebody. So I love the twist on that. I mean, again, it sounds harsh a little bit, but it's very true as well, though. Because why are you not talking? Oh, you're scared to open up. Oh, well, So isn't that a weakness, being scared?
Yeah.
That's more of a weakness than talking about it.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be careful who you talk to. Obviously, that's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a really blunt way to put it, but it's so true, isn't it? That, facing fear, if you've got a fear, the strength is in facing that fear, pushing through it and coming out the other side. And going into the unknown, because it is an unknown, isn't it? What's going to happen if I share this? What's people going to think? Are they going to reject me? Are they going to... but the chances are 9 times out of 10 people won't reject you. They might not want to know what to do with the information, but there will be people out there who will be able to take on that information and you'll get the help you need as well at that point. Which if you sit around holding it in, nobody knows that you've got a problem. There's a lot on social media at the moment about the face of depression and how some people can be really depressed, but actually on the outside they'll look fine. And it's that I don't know what the word
Association.
is.
The disconnect
between what's really going on inside and what you might look like on the outside.
Well, social media is terrible for that as well. So when I talk about this a lot when I'm helping people, is in fact we talked about this actually just yesterday morning again in the thing I was at yesterday, and we're talking about how social media is quite often a mask, because and I use this a lot. I say, you should never compare. I use that word should. You can choose not to compare. I always say, don't use the word should, use can choose to instead. And you were saying that you prefer. I prefer to. I say can choose to because I feel like it gives people power to make a decision. And you're saying you prefer. I guess there are circumstances where that makes more sense. We need to talk about that a little bit more probably. But so we were talking yesterday about. You should never compare. You should never compare. Just in your mind, replace the shoulds. You should never compare your highlights reel. Your behind-the-scenes blooper reel with everybody else's highlights reels. Because when you're looking on social media, it's all their best bits. And actually, take that one step further. When you're looking at other people's highlights with social media, and you're seeing all these fantastic things that they're doing in their lives, have a little think about your own social media. Because that person who you're looking at has got some bloopers behind their scenes. They're thinking about all the negativity in their life. They're looking at your social media and they're going, oh my God, look at John. Isn't he so lucky? Isn't his life amazing? And mine's so crap. And like, no. And you're looking at theirs and you're going, oh my God, look at their life. Their life is so amazing. My life is so crap. And all you're doing is both of you are comparing the best bits of your life to their best bits of your life. And both of you have got bloopers behind the scenes that you're not happy about. And I was just saying to somebody the other day, everybody that you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. And so you should always be kind to everybody that you meet, because everybody is going through something. You just don't know what they're going through.
Absolutely,
So,
what a great note to
end
finish on.
Yes, absolutely. On just shy of 25 minutes.
Yes.
This will make a beautiful podcast episode.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we'll end up sharing this across both our platforms. I think so, because I have a podcast, so this would work beautifully as one of my podcast episodes. Podcast episodes. In a few months' time.
Thank you.
And on my YouTube channel and your YouTube channel.
I've got a YouTube channel. Perfect. So it's going to be shared.
We can share it on both sides.
Everywhere.
Collaboration. I don't think I've ever done a YouTube collaboration before. Oh no, I have. I did one with. I did an interview with my friend Monica Verblova. We talked about depression and anxiety as well, actually. So that was kind of cool. We went for an hour though. Cool. Thanks, Vanessa. That was brilliant.
Cheers. Bye. Take care.